Lenovo announces that it will certify its ThinkStation PCs and ThinkPad P series laptops for both Ubuntu LTS and Red Hat Enterprise Linux.
Microsoft has taken capitalism to its extremes, but really, in all seriousness, they've made their desktop a consumer monetization space.
But moving to Linux doesn't cost you anything, makes you safer, and allows you to use even old computers. Win, win, win.
Bill Gates is furious as Lenovo flips the script with Linux, and honestly, it hits harder than any market crash I've seen. When the world's largest PC maker drops Windows as the automatic choice, that is a direct strike at decades of dominance. In my opinion, this is the start of a power shift Microsoft never expected to face so openly. And this is the part where, honestly, I think everything changes.
Lenovo has announced that they're including Ubuntu as a preloaded OS option on a number of their systems starting this summer.
When Lenovo said that starting in Q2 2025, 60% of its consumer laptops will ship with Linux as the default, I paused. Not because Linux on laptops is new. It isn't. But Windows was always automatic. You didn't choose it. It chose you. For over 30 years, if you bought a non-Apple laptop, you got Windows. End of story.
Many of you now know that there are several headwinds that demand to be addressed with regards to Windows and Mac OS, and the solution is to use Linux.
Now suddenly, Windows is a paid upgrade. You have to ask for it. You have to pay extra for it. That's not a small tweak. To me, that feels like the moment the industry quietly admitted the old rules don't hold the same power anymore. When the world's largest PC maker stops treating Windows as mandatory, that's not a configuration change. That's a statement. And I don't think this is about emotion or ideology. I think it's about money. Cold, uncomfortable math.
Microsoft says 26H1 is based on a different Windows core. So while existing PCs and Snapdragon X2 based PCs will both get security, quality, and feature updates, they'll be different updates, and never the twain shall meet.
Let's talk about that $65 average Windows license. On a $400 laptop, which is where most global sales happen, that's up to 20% of the retail price gone before Lenovo makes any profit. I don't know about you, but if I'm building a product with razor-thin margins, giving away that much just for the operating system would make me nervous.
Microsoft, despite people screaming to the heavens that the AI shit that they're doing is ruining Windows.
Then you stack on the extra costs. Windows 11 didn't just update the interface, it changed the hardware rules. TPM 2.0 chips became mandatory. RAM minimums effectively doubled from 4GB to 8GB if you wanted a usable experience. Certain processors were suddenly not supported, even if they worked perfectly fine for everyday tasks. That adds real money to every single unit. Microsoft writes the requirements. Lenovo pays the bill. That imbalance is hard to ignore.
And the company recently revealed plans to sell laptops preloaded with Fedora and make more firmware updates available through the vendor-neutral Linux vendor firmware service.
What really caught my attention was the reported internal calculation that Lenovo was losing around $47 per laptop due to Windows-related friction. Not just the license fee, the chaos around it, support calls, returns, customer frustration. If that number is even close to accurate, then this isn't just about preference. It's about survival in a brutally competitive market.
Clearly, they're burning bridges. Clearly, people are more and more looking to an alternative. Is it really worth the pursuit of trying to win this AI war if you just destroy all user satisfaction?
And then there's Windows 11 and the e-waste issue. I've seen perfectly working machines labeled ineligible just because they lacked a TPM chip or weren't on a CPU whitelist. That bothers me. We're talking about devices that could easily handle web browsing, documents, streaming, and normal daily tasks. Yet they're pushed aside because they don't meet new artificial gates.
That's the January 2026 update that broke everything, and it's not an outlier. It's just this month's entry in what was already a catastrophic 2025.
Linux doesn't play that game. It runs on older hardware. It doesn't demand that you throw away a working machine just to stay supported. To me, that contrast exposes how much of the Windows upgrade cycle feels forced rather than necessary.
Windows forces an update. 45 minutes later, your Discord is blowing up and you're still staring at this screen working on updates.
But the return rate is where things get uncomfortable. Between late 2021 and mid-2024, about 11.4% of Windows 11 laptops were returned within 30 days. That's nearly 1 in 8. And most of those machines weren't broken. The hardware was fine. People returned them because they were frustrated, slow performance, forced updates at the worst times, features they didn't ask for, prompts they couldn't fully disable.
The Linux kernel, basically the operating system's guts, is known for being stable and reliable, which is one reason why the vast majority of web servers run on it.
Lenovo says all of its ThinkStation and ThinkPad P-series laptops will be available to buy with Ubuntu LTS preloaded, and not just a few specific configurations stashed away on a hard-to-find storage page somewhere.
Every return costs Lenovo about $75 in processing, restocking, and resale discounting. Microsoft didn't absorb that. Lenovo did. And when customers were angry about pop-ups or confusing updates, they didn't call Microsoft headquarters. They called Lenovo support. Lenovo paid the salaries. Lenovo handled the damage.
Oh, that would have been a nightmare. But now in recent years, we have Copilot entries for Notepad, Paint, and File Explorer.
When I look at that full picture, I don't see a dramatic rebellion. I see a company reaching a breaking point. License fees are slicing margins. Hardware mandates inflate costs. Return rates are draining cash. Support centers are overwhelmed by decisions they didn't make.
The company also says it will upstream device drivers directly to the Linux kernel to help maintain stability and compatibility throughout the life of the workstation.
So when Lenovo says Linux will power the majority of its consumer lineup, I honestly see it as a defensive move. It's them saying, we can't keep carrying this structure if it keeps hurting us. Windows was powerful because it was the default. It didn't have to compete. It was simply there. Now it has to compete.
Windows 11 AI push, Copilot clutter, and recall design.
From where I'm standing, this doesn't look like a small operating system swap. It looks like the beginning of a new negotiation between hardware makers and software giants. And once one major player proves the old arrangement isn't sacred, the rest of the industry starts asking the same question. Why are we still doing this the old way?
Everybody's favorite program, Notepad. Yes, Notepad is currently not available in your account. How did you screw up Notepad? It's simpler than Nano. How did you do this, Microsoft?
The Linux pilot is the part where this whole story stops being theory and starts being uncomfortable. Lenovo quietly sold about 50,000 Linux laptops between January and June 2024. No drama, no hype, just a controlled experiment to see what would actually happen.
So they want to consider it e-waste now. You cannot upgrade these to Windows 11. In the meantime, if your machine allows it, once you move to Windows 11, the Copilot features are now activated and suddenly you have a very invasive spy machine.
And what happened is what surprised me the most. Return rates dropped from 11.4% on Windows machines to just 2.1% on Linux. That is not a small improvement. That is a collapse in complaints. The wild part is that the hardware did not change. Same processors, same RAM, same screens. The only thing Lenovo swapped was the operating system.
Meta and YouTube were taken to court in California this week to defend against accusations of pushing highly addictive apps on children. CEO of Meta and human-fish hybrid Mark Zuckerberg is expected to take the stand next week.
Then there's the bloatware mess, which honestly has always annoyed me as a user. You open a brand new laptop, and it is already shouting at you with trial antivirus, cloud prompts, and promotional apps. It feels less like your device and more like rented billboard space.
I put files into my OneDrive on my PC. They uploaded to the cloud, so I deleted them on my computer. The damn thing deleted the online copy, and now the file's gone. I hate OneDrive.
So, Lenovo takes the reputational hit, while Microsoft takes the check. That imbalance becomes obvious when you remove Windows, and suddenly the clutter disappears. Linux ships clean, and customers stop complaining.
But here's what's kind of revealing. The sign-in UI, it doesn't just pop up naturally. Yeah, I had Linus from LTT who had to click through a couple AI prompts to trigger it. And Microsoft is so desperate to get you logged in that they're adding account prompts to Paint for optional features that nobody asked for.
When Microsoft realized what Lenovo was doing, the response was fast. They reportedly offered a 40% discount on Windows licenses, dropping the cost from around $65 to $39. That sounds generous, but Lenovo still said no.
They're going to stop cramming Copilot buttons everywhere, and they're even going to review whether Copilot buttons are even necessary in places like Paint and Notepad and, other brain dead places that all of us are going, why?
Lenovo also started upstreaming its device drivers directly into the Linux kernel. That is not something you do for a short-term experiment. That is a long-term commitment to make Linux a first-class citizen. If even 60% of office workers can run web apps, email, and documents perfectly fine on Linux, the licensing savings could be massive. Once companies see that math, the emotional attachment to Windows fades quickly. Businesses follow numbers, not nostalgia. And to me, that is the real shift here. Not just Linux gaining ground, but the idea that Windows is no longer untouchable. Once that belief cracks, the entire industry starts thinking differently.